Let's talk about the Miami Hurricanes, Garrett, because they're the other, Clemson, I think, is the closest of this group to being back to elite. Miami, man, when you look at their grades, they didn't have a bad offense. Their defense was pretty solid. They recruited well. The talent is there. What's the only thing that could lead them to a D and on the field results? Say it with me, Garrett. Coaching, right?
Coaching.
Like, I don't know how you could go into 2024 confident in your coaching staff if you're a Miami Hurricane fan, because everybody, the easy low hanging fruit is obviously the Georgia Tech game where he can just kneel the ball and they beat Georgia Tech, and y'all's Ramblin' Wreck bowl bound is gone.
Never in doubt.
But just it's not only the Georgia Tech game. It was time and time again this year. It seemed like they're just coaching decision after coaching decision that was questionable at best and just fireable at worst.
Yeah, well, and I was thinking about trying to make some kind of a joke about, well, maybe he could hire an offensive coordinator who brings along a victory formation package with them or something like that. I don't know if that was in their playbook, if they knew that they could just kneel the ball down and win another game. That does make a difference. You win another game on this schedule and you say, oh, look, this looks a little bit better. You can sell that to recruits. You can sell that to transfers a little better. They're doing what they need to do. Tyler Van Dyke is a good quarterback, and he looked bad under Cristobal. He looked amazing, and then he looked bad all of a sudden. I hope the same doesn't happen with our guy Cam Ward. I hope that doesn't happen for him, and that he gets down there and then all of a sudden, flames out and disappears. I look at this, there's not a commitment to the program, right? We just kind of said that with, I worry about that with North Carolina. There's not a commitment to the program from Miami. They've got like a guy. Nobody shows up to those games. There's like zero passion for their program. I'd be afraid of offending the Miami fans with the take here, but I don't know if there's enough of them to get mad at us. And so I'm concerned about Miami because they keep saying like, oh, we're up on top. They got the number one class in the ACC right now in recruiting. They're gonna bring in talent, but this was true last year. They've had talent last year. There's no reason why they should have been losing some of these games. I'm looking up and down at the results, and I'm dumbfounded. I'm looking at this saying, okay, Georgia Tech, that's a dumb loss. Shouldn't have lost that game, especially after a couple of sound beatings up to that point. It was 38-3 over Miami, Ohio. They beat A&M 48-33. They beat a nobody Bethune-Cookman 48-7. They beat Temple 41-7. So things are rolling. You should be beating teams like Georgia Tech. We're a fan of what Georgia Tech did this season, but you should beat Georgia Tech if you're Miami. They lose for dumb reasons. Then you lose to North Carolina, who we just mentioned. Like, they don't play defense. You can't find a way to score. Play a little defense with North Carolina, keep up. You beat Clemson. That feels good until you realize maybe they weren't nearly as good as we thought they were. And then you just end the season on a massive downswing. You lose to North Carolina State. You score 6 points in that game. You lose to Florida State in a big game that mattered in a rivalry game and all that. You lose to Louisville. That's a good Louisville team. And then obviously, you beat Boston College. You lose to Rutgers in your bowl game. And now you're just sitting here saying, well, like, what's next? Nothing really to be excited about. Your best win was a bad Clemson. So, like, what are you excited about if you're a Miami fan? How are you going to drive the fan base to come out and support this team? How are you going to get more support around this program? How are you going to get more people interacting on social media? I don't know what the answer is for that. And a lot of it has to do with the fact that there's no reason for them to be excited with this coaching staff. This coaching staff is not going to succeed at Miami. They just won't. They don't have it in them. I don't think Cristobal is that good. And I just don't think that they have it in them to succeed at Miami, succeed anywhere for Cristobal. But I just don't think that he can do that. And so, look, I don't know what the answer is. It's got to be a hot seat. I mean, Florida State, stock up for them right now in the state with Miami and Florida having as many issues at the coaching spot as they have. Stock up Florida State. I don't care about, any sort of sanctions or penalties or anything else like that. The rest of your state sucks right now. So, congrats to the Seminoles for getting to kind of run your state for a couple of years.
The thing that they're gonna hope on is the talented roster, right? Like we've seen time and time again.
Sure.
You can overlook the coaching lack of acumen at programs if the roster's talented enough. They're gonna have the most talented or second most talented behind Florida State roster in the entire conference next year. Maybe you want to argue Clemson's up there, fine, but I think they'll be top two in just raw talent that they put on the field. And whether or not Mario Cristobal and company can do anything with that remains to be seen. They certainly haven't so far, and it's absolutely concerning going forward.
Just a word of warning on the let's count on talented players. The number one recruiting class of all time at Texas A&M lost to App State week 2. So
Exactly.
like,
Yeah.
let's take a big step back and say like your talent matters, but it doesn't matter if you don't have a good coach. It
Right.
doesn't matter if your coaches can't put them in a position to win.
And Mike Norvell is doing a fantastic job of
Yes.
plugging holes with elite talent in the transfer portal. Miami's kind of doing the Texas A&M thing, right, under Jimbo Fisher, where they're getting a lot of talented recruits from the high school ranks, but not filling those obvious holes. I know they got Cam Ward, but
Right,
not
besides him, yeah.
besides Cam Ward aside, they're not really filling those obvious holes in the
Well,
transfer
and who
portal.
cares if they fill him? Can Cristobal coach them up to win? Like he took a guy in Tyler Van Dyke, who all of us were projecting like he's going to be a top pick. He's one of the best quarterbacks in the country. He's a dark horse for the Heisman. He took him and just, I mean, disappeared his career. And
Yeah.
so like go see you later, TVD. I hope it's not the same for Cam Ward because I think he's a good quarterback. I think he could have done better than landing at Miami. And I know I'm coming off as a Miami hater here, but this program's in trouble. This program ended up in the passing for the season by the skin of their teeth.
Yeah.
They're in trouble next year if they can't, they got to beat one of the Florida schools. They got to be someone there. I don't know if do they have Florida on the schedule? I don't know if they
do. Yeah. Florida is playing the round robin in the non-conference.
Yeah. So they got to beat Florida, or they got to beat Florida State, or I don't know, Clemson's got to be I don't know if they have Clemson on the schedule next year. I don't know what exactly their schedule is, but they've got to win some big games and they got to stop losing these stupid ones, right? Kneel the football. Show up to a game at home, right? Show up to a game at home against someone in your conference. And let's start trying to win some football games before we're talking about the U being back.
The toughest road game in conference is at Louisville. They don't have North Carolina. They don't have Clemson on the schedule next year. So the wins
will be there. Are they dodging Georgia Tech, or are they going to?
They do travel to Bobby Dodd Stadium next year. So hold on to your butts for that one.
Gracious him. How about that?